Today I'm talking about entrepreneur coaching. The word entrepreneur gets bandied around a lot, and I know a lot of business owners refer to themselves as entrepreneurs, but um, the original definition of entrepreneur, it's a French word, stems from the concept of, well, it literally means in French, an undertaker. It's someone who undertakes projects, and typically entrepreneurs have a large appetite for risk. They like innovation. They like being market leaders. They like seeing a gap in the market, building a product or service to fill that gap, build up a scalable business that can be taken to a level that it can be put onto the stock exchange, that it can become publicly listed, make lots of money, sell it off, and then move on to the next project with equity in that business, in the original business, whereby you continue generating money from that business. And typical Shark Tank like entrepreneurs, they build up a portfolio of many different companies, and they love the thrill of starting and growing a business, of getting it to a point where it can be publicly listed, where it can then be scaled and made, make lots of money. Then they step back and they just enjoy watching the dividends rolling in, or the profits from the equity that they have in the business. And the Mark Cuban style entrepreneurs, they do have a huge portfolio of different companies, and that's the definition of a true entrepreneur. They don't, it's different to being a business owner, where you have one business and you really put all your heart, soul, and effort into that one business, and you might make lots of money, which is great, but and you might eventually sell that business on when you retire. But the goal when starting out is not to build something to a point where it's ready to be sold, to then go on to the next project to build again and on sell. So while those the two terms get interchanged, they are very different terms. So in this particular article, I'm talking about entrepreneur coaching. It is a whole different ballgame. I often talk about there are 5 different types of small business. So in Australia, any business turning over less than $10 million, which is the majority of businesses in Australia, they are termed a small business. However, there are no two businesses that are alike, really. They're all very different and as unique as us as individuals. But you first have the micro businesses. They're the ones that are operating under the GST threshold of 75,000 a year. And then you've got your traditional businesses, which is, you can think of your brick and mortar businesses, your trades, your franchises, your professional services firms that provide a traditional service. That's what I call traditional small business. Then you've got not-for-profits. So they are they are purpose driven. They make money and they pay their staff a wage, but they're not there to make profit. All the profits go back into the business. They are about making an impact in society. However, they are considered a small business. And then you've got the entrepreneurial types that I mentioned. They're the ones that they love innovation, high risk. They go into the market in order to scale a product or service to a point of high profitability, to then on sell, or to gain equity in the business to enjoy profits from that company into the future. The final one is people like myself. We are what I call thought leaders. So we are coaches, consultants, thought leaders. Typically, we operate solo, or we have a team, as I do, of virtual assistants around us, but we are the brand, and the goal is not to on-sell our business, because we are the brand and you can't sell a personal brand. So that gives you an idea of the spread of different businesses. Now, entrepreneurs, as I mentioned, it's a whole different ballgame. The idea of explaining to me those 5 different business types is to help you understand there are different types of small business, and therefore you need to understand the game you're playing. Which of those categories do you fit into, and therefore what is your strategy? In this particular article, I'm talking about entrepreneurs, and I've been on several startup teams, entrepreneurial teams, some failures, some success. The odds of actually succeeding in the entrepreneurial landscape are very small. Like across the board for small businesses in Australia, we have a 50% survival rate in the first 3 years. In the entrepreneurial space, it's much less. It's more like 10% of all entrepreneurial ventures actually get off the ground. And that's because it's not easy. You've got to get to market quickly. The best ideas do not necessarily get traction. And that's because many founders, innovators, scientists, people with great ideas go into business thinking that their idea is so wonderful that someone's just going to give you some money to make it happen. It's never the case. There are not just rich people sitting around waiting to invest in your next good idea. And this was a concept that Daniel O'Connor from the Inventors Academy really hammered home to me when I was on an entrepreneurial project that failed. Unfortunately, we engaged Daniel O'Connor too late in the process after the founder had made some very fundamental mistakes. And some of those mistakes, are what I then help entrepreneurs now. I support them to get their idea to market quickly and avoid those big mistakes. So one of them was investing in IP protection too early before we proved there was even a market demand for this idea. The second mistake the founder made was to invest, unbeknownst to us, in the development of a very expensive app, which was a $200,000 project without us having secured funding or cash generating transactions yet. So those two mistakes killed the project, but it was a huge learning curve for me. And I could see clearly how the first essential step when you're starting an entrepreneurial venture is to prove the market need. And no matter what you think about your project, that you might think it's the bee's knees, but if you haven't got people in the market that are willing to pay for it, if you haven't got a customer segment that is waiting for your product to land so they can buy it, the project won't get off the ground. And unfortunately, that's happened in several startups that I've worked with. The founder gets too eager to produce their prototype and their full product without having proven that there are people who will pay for it. And there is a whole process that I guide my clients through to actually make sure that whatever idea you have is solid, there is a commercial model for it, and people will pay for it. And before you invest in expensive IP protection or apps or prototype development, you need to work with strategic partners who already have secured your market share, your market, your segment of the market. Work with them in a no risk way in order to get your product into the market through their channels without having to invest in those expensive channels yourself yet. So there is a way of doing this that helps you avoid failure. And that is the entrepreneurial journey. So if you are a founder starting out, or you have a great idea and you want to get your product to market, please reach out. I can guide you and put you in touch with the right people and help you avoid the very expensive and heartbreaking mistakes that many startups make that I've been part of personally. The ones that work, that get through to market penetration, it's a wonderful thing and it's a very exciting journey to be part of. However, you need to know what you're doing and get the right support along the way. So if that's you and you have a great idea, I can help you turn it into a profitable, thriving business. If you need help, please reach out at katedeong.com. Thanks so much. Bye for now.